But before this immeasurable creative force was brought into existence, what existed? The Torah just says, He. Bara. He created. Doesn't even give you a name. If you notice, the entire chapter of Genesis chapter 1 does not give you the tetragrammaton. You are only dealing with the attribute known as Elohim. Because it's speaking about the creative energies which brought the universe into existence. Don't lose me, follow me. So what are we talking about here? This title that we speak of as Elohim is something that the ineffable one brought into existence. What do we mean? The ultimate force of the universe is ineffable. Literally beyond description. Conceptually incorporeal. Spiritually intangible. What are we talking about? In the physical universe, you can put two physical things together. In the spiritual universe, the only way you can join like is to be like-minded. It is only by virtue of your flesh that you can take two diverse concepts and harmonize them. Because in the spiritual universe, Tov, Re, Ra, good and evil, do not coexist. They do not dwell together. They are opposites, polar opposites, if you will. So when we speak about this illustrious title or attribute of the ineffable one, you must understand it's a title. You must understand it is an attribute. If you take a ray or beam of light, and let's imagine that these windows are stained glasses similar to what you see in churches around the globe. If you take this ray of light and you inject it or project it throughout those windows, you may see the 7 colors of the rainbow, depending upon your vantage point. Because if you were here, you would understand that it's just the one. It is only your vantage point that causes you to think the one is many. So let me take it a step further. Those who hold the keys of the Abrahamic faith, we have a greater vantage point than those who speak of the one versus those who speak of the many. We have what's called spiritual proximity. It is only from outside of that sacred precinct, that sacred space, that the one becomes many. So when I'm standing in Kemet and I'm watching the universe in concert, my mind begins to impress upon me the idea that there are many different forces acting upon nature. Hence the Kemetic term, Neksha, which we translate today as deity or God. What do we mean by that? Well, let's examine the term nature. When you go into ancient Egypt, they will tell you that the term Neksha, their term for deity or lowercase g, emphasize lowercase g on God, is equivalent and perfectly correlates with what we understand to be nature. And they say, see, you Hebrews are too nonsensical. And by Hebrews, I hope everyone in the room understands that it fits all of us. We are all Hebrews. If you speak about Abraham, you are a Hebrew. Now I want my Hebrews to listen to this carefully. Go back and read the book of Shemot, misrendered Exodus. Pay attention, meticulous attention if you will, to the name the Creator uses to identify his people. He does not tell Moses to go unto Pharaoh, and let the children of Israel go. He does not tell Moses to go into Pharaoh and says that the God of Israel speaks. Every single passage throughout the book of Shemot relating to what we refer to as the Exodus. When the Creator speaks about his people, he says, you tell Pharaoh that the God of the Hebrews sent you. Just something to think about. Because that term Hebrew would identify with every single nation, tribe, and people which descended from the loins of Father Abraham and Sister Sarah. You need to understand that. Because then when you jump from spiritual system to spiritual system, you realize that what I thought was a cousin is akin to being my brother. And because someone's your brother doesn't mean that we see eye to eye on everything, but he's still your brother. Does your brother see eye to eye with you on everything? So me and my brother, we go and we watch a movie. We should have the same outlook, right? No. Ishmael and Isaac come from Abraham. They should conceptualize the all, or the great one, Hagadol, the same, right? No. No two people share the exact same thoughts and ideas. What would differentiate you from one another? Again, on the spiritual level, it is your uniqueness that makes you different. You wouldn't even exist if there was someone else in this entire universe with the exact same thoughts as you. The Torah opens up with 7 words and 28 letters. So special about that. Why are you counting letters? You watch too much Sesame Street. We're going to start calling you to count. This is a true story. Some of the brothers who are watching this, or may go back and look at it, remember that they gave me that name, The Count. But do you know what a scribe is? In Hebrew law? Sofer. A group of scribes, soferim. How do we say count? Safar. Why does a scribe have to count? We're talking about the era before we have mass production. We're talking about antiquity. We're talking about before the era of the printing press. Counting letters and words is an elixir of truth to a scribe. Because after you've written 686,342 words, and someone briefly walks in the room and loses your attention, and now you got to go back, how do you know where you left off at? You are copying ancient texts from your mind. Every single scribe of antiquity understood their text in the form of numbers, the same way that our computers communicate with one another. You see, letters convey intelligible discourse. Numbers convey abstract information. The Pythagoreans understood this very well. The ancient Cometics understood this very well. The Hebrews understood this very well. The Sumerians understood this very well. Numbers are the basis of all things in existence. And what is number? Vibration. Nothing moves save that it vibrates. Nothing lives save that there is a vibration to it. So before I lose you with the boring stuff, I want you to take a look at your hands. You have 10 fingers, 10 phalanges, right? But I want to ask you a question. That which makes your fingers bend is called what? Your joints. Upon each hand, how many joints do you have? Look at it. Not a trick question. By joint, we're talking about that which makes the finger bend. So you have on these fingers 3 joints to each phalange. 3 modes of bending it. And to your thumb, you have 2. So you have a total of 14 joints. Remember, Hebrew is a language that when we name something, we are identifying with the essence of the thing we are naming. The Hebrew word for hand is yad, spelled yod, dalet. Yod is the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Dalet is the 4th. That's 14. The Hebrew word for hand is speaking about what your hand does. And if you have 14 here, how much do you have here? So together you have, so let's look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. 7 words and 28 letters. Why is that so special? You see, we as a people are destroyed because we are not in concert with the creative force of the universe. You see, the universe follows a set of laws. Am I spooky? Or do we study science also? This is science. Because what does science tell us? Who takes classes on physics? You have. Okay. We know that prior to what is rendered today as the Big Bang Theory, there is something known as the laws of the universe, which actually predate the universe itself. In other words, scientists have gathered and understood today that the universe operates according to a set of laws. And they say that these laws pre-existed the creation of the universe itself. And we see that in the ancient texts around the world, which means people that look like you and I, and who you and I may descend from, already understood this thousands of years before, as Brother Jabari would say, the Talmud knows this. Our people understood this. Open up the book of Proverbs chapter 8, where it says, in reference to wisdom, I was with him in the beginning, before there was an earth. Before the hills were formed, before the mountains, I was there. Wisdom. Wisdom preceded all things created, because all things created were created under the banner and umbrella of wisdom. But let's take it a step further. We know, going back to language and numbers, Hebrew is a consonantal language, but it's also numerical, as we saw in our hands, right? So the word chakmah, wisdom in Hebrew, has a numerical equivalence of 73. Now, when you take 7 plus 3, what do you have? What is the most famous thing about the Bible? The 10, which exactly has 613 letters. When you start from Vaydaber Elohim ekal hadebarim ha'eleh lemor, and God spoke all these words saying, until you get to Asher le re'eka, anything that is thy neighbor's. I challenge you to count that first letter and culminate at the end. You have 613 letters in that passage of the Ten Commandments. Well, let's look at the word chakmah, and let's look at it as a full spelling. The first letter is chet, which is chet yod tav, or 8, 10, 400, 418. Let's look at the next word. Keep the number in mind, 418. Let's look at the next letter. Kaf, kaf, pei, 20, 80, 100. 418 plus 100. Keep the math on this side. Let's look at the next letter. Mem, mem yod mem, 40, 10, 40, 90. 418, 100, 90. The last letter is hey, 5. Add 418 plus 100 plus 90 plus 5. The full spelling of the Hebrew word for wisdom numerically equates to 613. The laws of the universe and us not being in concert with it is our destruction as a people, even as a civilization. And how do we marry the two? The book of the Ten Commandments, Exodus chapter 20, opens up, and God spoke all these words, saying, I just read it. Wadaber Elohim et kal hadebarim ha'eleh lemor. Anoki Hashem Eloheka, Asher hutzetika me'eretz Mitzrayim mi beit Avdim. I am the Lord your God who brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. What are we talking about? The very first sentence of Exodus chapter 20, and God spoke all these words saying, also has 7 words and 28 letters. We're going somewhere with this. Follow me. Exodus chapter 20 verse 1 introduces the giving of the law. Genesis chapter 1 introduces the creation of the universe. They both begin with 7 words and 28 letters. The Torah is talking to you. The universe was created in concert with the laws which brought it into existence. And if you are out of sync with any of those laws, you are causing a divide in the universe itself. One of my teachers, Prince Paul Ben Zivaloon, a mighty teacher in our era, in our community, one of the first things he said when I came around was, the universe is off course, spinning off course, because you are not in sync with the laws which govern it all. And no matter where you go in antiquity, you can't show me an ancient African text we don't have our nose and eyes in. You can't show me any that disagree with the idea that universal and divine law is etched into the very universe itself. You must understand this, a fundamental principle. Why are the laws so important? Why do I have to do this? Why that? Well, do you know if a single law of the universe stops, we have pandemonium. We have catastrophe. You're going to have some death. Let the sun take a break for a couple days. Let the moon and her gravitational pull stop acting upon the tides of the ocean for a couple hours. Don't you know that the life in the waters, that everything that teems, that moves in the waters, they mate based upon the changing of seasons and times. So we're not pseudo when we understand how the universe works, how the planets orbit. Our ancestors knew this. This was kindergarten knowledge today. And I put emphasis on kindergarten for my New Yorkers. Elementary. Knowledge of the physical universe is elementary knowledge to the ancients. It is that spiritual insight that begins to put you on the path of the initiate. Which in Hebrew, by the way, when you say chanok, you're also saying initiate. Get Marcus Jastro's Aramaic dictionary and look up the word for initiate. It's actually the name Enoch. We have a brother, blessed be his memory. Oh my God, what a mighty brother. Rabbi Mordecai Herman. And he headed a congregation in Harlem, New York, in about 1920, known as the Moorish Zionist Temple of the Moorish Yehudim, or Jews. And the sign that you see here by our fellow Moorish brothers, I want you to look at this picture when you get a chance on the net. You type in Rabbi Mordecai Herman, who is a Moorish Yehudi, Jew. And I want you to look at the back of the room at our brother holding his hand. And I want you to see that it is the exact same thing our brother is doing here. And he is a Yehudi. So when we start talking about that there is a difference between Yehudim and Moors, I ask you to think again. This is, I want to say centuries, but that would be more figurative than literal. But this school is decades before ISUPK, which is the world's concept when they think of Hebrew Israelite. I had an opportunity to play a role in history with this brother, who I've never met. I'm in contact with a lot of different people because of the works that we do, of which many of us are. The more work you put in, the more people you meet on this journey. I met a writer for the New York Times, who is also a writer for a major Jewish paper here in New York City called The Forward. His name is Sam Kesterbaum. He said to me that he wants to make a mural of black Jews in Israel, in Jerusalem. I said, huh? You see, my eyes, ears, and nose always think somebody jived me. Especially in Brother Jabari's voice when we're talking about the Talmud, the Europeans. So I said to him, I can think of none other. I want you to pay attention to my words, because I'm giving to you exactly how I gave it to him verbatim. I can think of no other than Rabbi Matthews. And he says, bet, great. And I sent him a picture that's in Jerusalem to this day of the Moorish Jew, Rabbi Mordecai Herman. And it's in Jerusalem right now, or in Hebrew, Akshar, right now. But did you listen to what I said? I said to him, I could think of no other than Rabbi Matthews. But somehow I sent this picture. So I wanted now to get back to him and say, I didn't send you that. It's the wrong picture. Then I thought about the way the universe works. There's no accidents. Whoa. Nah, brother, it was an accident. Stop being so spooky. There's no accidents. There's no accidents. Even the person that tells you, man, I was so drunk, I didn't mean to. He spoke his sober mind. There's no accidents. Understand that? So I want to show you that in my mind, I imagine that Rabbi Matthew should be there. But the universe said, we're going to put Mordecai Herman, and he's a Moorish Jew. Pay attention. No slight to Rabbi Matthews. I hope you can understand. But I speak truth. Here is another brother I want to take the opportunity to speak highly of, because here is where we get into the history of Marcus Garvey. There's an Israelite by the name of Rabbi Josiah Ford. Blessed be his memory. Some of us in the Hebrew community know him on levels that many in the community don't. He's a master craftsman. He was akin to some of us that when we speak of the ultimate force of the universe, we sometimes say the supreme architect of the universe, or the grand architect of the universe. We speak of the supreme intelligence of the universe. Rabbi Ford headed the Royal Ethiopian Order of Jews. Very important to understand. Let's speed things up. I'm long-winded, I apologize. You see, I have the utmost respect, love, and admiration for an heroic figure by the name of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who spoke about back to Africa. But guess what? When Marcus Garvey came to Harlem, there were already people on the ground. And guess what? They looked like you and I. You see, the people on the ground doing work for black people were the Moors and the Jews. And these are who Marcus Garvey encountered when he hit the streets of Harlem. Guess what? These guys go on to become the top generals in his movement. You remember my dialogue with Professor James Smalls when he sat next to me and he said, "Don't you know that your Rabbi Matthews was the greatest confidant and friend of Malcolm X? Malcolm wouldn't move unless he got the phone call from Rabbi Matthews." You mean Rabbi Matthews the black Jew? You mean Rabbi Matthews that wears ZZO? You mean Rabbi Matthews that has the Star of David? That speaks Hebrew? But I thought Hebrews and Islam don't agree. Malcolm X didn't make a move till he got that phone call from Rabbi Matthews. We're talking about post-Malcolm split from the nation of Israel. Rabbi Josiah Ford created the charter for the UNIA. You have a charter. You understand the significance of having a charter. Do you know what it takes to write a charter? I'm sure many of us don't. You know the kind of mind, thinking processes, imagination, you gotta cover this, cover that, dot your I's and cross your T's. The person who writes a charter for an organization is not the slouch. Rabbi Ford wrote the charter for the UNIA, but he did greater than that. Rabbi Ford is the one that said to Marcus Garvey, "No, you're not going to be on Harlem referring to these people as black and colored, because we are not that." Now, does he have a problem with black? Now, our family is from the Caribbean. My dad could tell you better than me. He would play songs around the house such as pt.4, no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. I would listen to great poets like Muta Baruka in Jamaica, all because of my dad and the things that he instilled within me. Giant Lexx, are you against blackness? I'm telling you, I came up with those ideals. And blackness is a reality. Because what does Kush mean? Dark. Kush. The numerical equivalence of it in Hebrew will tell you what people of antiquity saw dark skin as. Kush in Hebrew is numerically equivalent to beautiful in appearance. And this is in your Bible. The people of the Bible saw color as a badge or emblem of beauty or majesty. Dare I say it, melanin is not just a simple alchemical property, it is the badge of that which makes you royal and intellectually great as people. There are things about your melanin that allows you to tap into parts of the universe that people that lack it can't do it. What am I talking about? You see the guy, you telling me the guy that got lighter skin than me can't be a great thinker? No, that's not what I'm saying. But there's a thing called ratio in science. It is a known scientific fact that those with melanin in their skin, high amounts of it, there's a congruent ratio in the mind as well, because you have melanin in your brain. So you have equal amounts. So if you are lacking melanin here, you're possibly lacking melanin here. And what is the purpose of melanin? Since we all like to brag, I'm melanated. Hashtag. It is your chemical greatness. The function of melanin in the body is to maintain optimal health wherever it is found. It is the ultimate nothingness of the universe. In fact, this strange dark matter that they're speaking about in the universe, alchemically, is melanin. And you dawn it better than anyone else. I want to close out with this thought. I have about an hour's worth of slide, but because I come from a school of thought like unto you, where teachers are so immersed in these truths that we literally could talk from sun up to sundown, I happen to have, I don't want to say waste, but spent more time on topics that I could have been a little faster on. So let me find a slide to close out on. Hmm? 15 to 25? Yeah. All right. Thank you. So here we go. And I know you're hungry, so I'm not going to make it too long. Rabbi Ford instilled within Marcus Garvey the idea that, listen, we appreciate that you're joining us on these streets of art. We appreciate that you're getting on top of these students and mimicking what we've already been doing. But you're not going to unwork all the work we've been doing by pushing our people back into the bywords that the European was placing upon them. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, you're not going to be out here calling our people black colored, because no people of antiquity describe themselves as such. Think about it. The entire first world was what color? And I want you to use the misnomer in this instance. Black. Right? All right. I see it's hard for us to say it because we're so immersed in truth. But I like that. I like that. The entire first world was black, so to speak, for lack of a more accurate term. So what would differentiate other tribes of black people from one another if everybody's calling themselves black? Black is not the nationality. This is what the brothers in the Moorish community want us to understand. We are not escaping blackness as a form of self-destruction before our people. We're not trying to escape who we are. Oh, okay. My apologies. We're not trying to escape. Oh, even better. Oh, okay. Thank you. It's a habit. We're not trying to escape who we are as a people, but we want you to identify with the root and essence of the thing that you're naming.